Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, for the first time, I watched a surprisingly overlooked film called The Majestic starring Jim Carrey. It's about a Hollywood screenwriter named Peter Appleton, played by yours truly, um, who's on the verge of climbing the Hollywood ladder, but then suddenly he gets blacklisted for being a suspected communist agent. It takes place during the 1950s. Um, all because he attended some Marxist group meeting in college, even though he didn't care about the ideology. He was just there to impress some girl he was attracted to. So then he drives up the coast, but then suddenly his car crashes into a river off a bridge, which causes him to have amnesia, in other words, memory loss. Then he gets discovered by an older man who lives in a small town nearby, and therefore he brings him over for hospitality. But as he does so, Peter gets discovered or noticed by a man named Harry Trimble, played by Martin Landau, who mistakes him for his son Luke, who was a local celebrity that got drafted into the war and died during it. And this greatly excites the town, as I guess it's been in a state of depression after the war. The more I think about it, the more the Majestic is becoming a new favorite of mine. Something I don't say about many films, no matter how good they might be. Granted, it's a highly subjective thing for me to say, but it's just what I think. I think it's a great movie that just got its timing wrong for a number of reasons. One, it was confronting serious competition in Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, so there was no way it was going to be a top grossing film at the box office. Second, it might have come out either too late or too early in that it was released 3 months after 9/11, and audiences just didn't have the appetite for something nostalgic as they were probably too anchored in the reality of that time period. Regardless, I love that it's a nostalgic film that is portrayed in a very grounded and down to earth fashion. Jim Carrey gives one of the best performances of his career. He doesn't demonstrate any of his comedic chops. He portrays the character in a very grounded and wholesome fashion. Why it wasn't recognized by the Academy, I will never know. Martin Landau is great as always. He always brings a frankness and eloquence to his roles that I find very admirable. Speaking of his character, who is a manager of a movie theater called The Majestic, like the title of the film, that went out of business after the war, he mentions at one point in the film where, and this is a major subplot, he's trying to revitalize the movie theater to celebrate and capitalize on the supposed return of his son. That more people are watching TV at home than they are going to the movie theater, and that nothing can compare to the experience of watching a film in the theater. Which does have some truth to it, by the way, as TV was a major phenomenon in the 50s that caused people to stay at home and be entertained and go to the movies. And interestingly enough, what he is saying does kind of allude to what is going on today with the streaming services and such, and how it's affecting movie theaters across the country and the world. I also want to add that if this movie were released today, it would go directly to HBO Max because, from the perspective of studio and I guess movie theater executives who, in a sort of perverse fashion, have become a lot more conservative with what they put out in movie theaters these days, it probably wouldn't have enough spectacle or theatricality to justify a theatrical release. Yet, ironically, I actually think that would be a blessing in disguise, as more people would know about it and watch it, probably. Makes me truly wonder what Harry Trimble would think of the climate of cinema today. Also, Bruce Campbell has a cool cameo role playing the lead actor of an adventure movie that Peter is credited as the writer of in the beginning. One thing I did observe about the ending is that Peter ends up working at the movies instead of in the movies. I'm sure you'll understand what I mean when you watch it. So yeah, it's a majestic experience that you don't want to ignore. It truly deserves a stronger following. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, donate to my Patreon if you feel compelled to do so. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.